We don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. But here we are. Our hearts are full of emotions. Tears upon tears. Pain that we never knew existed. Sadness. Hurt. Anger. Emptiness. Senselessness. We're so full of questions. How can this be? How can this happen? So full of love, kindness, joy, happiness of our family, our friends, her husband, her daughter. How can this be and just be gone in the twinkling of an eye? And why? Why, of all people, Jordan? Why? Why? Why can't those wedding pictures that we marveled at sitting out in the foyer get a little bit older before we have together? Why? God, why? I wish I could do what so many people think preachers can do. I really wish that we could do something. I wish we could wave that godly magic wand across all of us and make the hurt go away, or at least be able to explain all things that happen. I so wish that I could. And I want to tell you, I have learned from far too many painful moments not to focus on the things that I don't know the answers to, or the things that I don't understand, and rather focus on the things that I do know. And I want to tell you what I do know today. I do know that when Jordan Lowry Estrada walked into any room, that room lit up. I know that when Jordan smiled, you knew that your life was better. I know that when Jordan laughed, that full body laugh, life was just better because that came deep within her soul. I know that when you spoke to her, nothing else in the whole world mattered to her in that moment. That other than that conversation that she was having with you, because you were that important. And I will cherish those moments. I know that she was a kind soul whose kindness just dominated her total personality. I know that when she went to Cotton County High School in MTSU, and after years of listening to her father and her mother, that she had actually listened. And that things were paying off, and that with the help of her husband, she was becoming one savvy and smart businesswoman, building a very successful business. I know that she treasured her lifelong friends who are sitting right here. Guys, what you have, not everybody has. It is God's gift. I know that there were times when Jordan would be best described as being ornery. And you laugh because you know it's true. I know that she was very proud of her sister. And I know that she loved her brother. Though I'm not sure if we had a contest between Jason and Jordan, I'm not sure who would end up being the loudest. I know that through our time getting ready for her wedding, that she she loved her mama. In fact, the reason she loved me so much is the last time she went to see me, she could hardly wait to get there, and that she went so fast that she was willing to contribute to the state of Virginia some money. Because on Monday night, as Jacob pulled out from her car an unpaid speeding ticket. And I know that there are some moments that as a pastor, I treasure very deeply. And I know that about 3.5 years ago, I got to stand by her husband when she came walking down the aisle. And that is a true gift that I get to share. And I know that she passionately loved Jacob. I know that this force of nature, who could light up any room that she walked into, and who had a multitude of friends, that Jacob, she only said yes to you because she loved you. And I know that she was a mama bear who loved her baby. Oh. And I think that's where our pain is today. But if you could use some heavenly eyes and some heavenly imagination with me today, can you imagine that first parent-teacher conference at Newport Grammar School when Jordan thought that Aurora got the short end of the straw? Poor teacher. And I know this. I know that she just didn't love her daddy. She adored her daddy. The original girl dad. She loved to tell me the story, because I bet she told it to me 6 times, of going and buying prom dresses with a store full of women and one man. For every one of us who is blessed to have a daughter who is feisty and ornery and driven and willing to speak her piece and even willing to knock heads a bit, we know that what Chip and Jordan have is what a whole lot of us dads want. What a gift. So I invite you in these moments that we come and we laugh and we cry a little bit, and that we celebrate this force of kindness. Jordan Lee Alry Snyder. And that we come to celebrate her life and to claim what we know and to be grateful that she was part of our lives. I welcome all of you who are here in this room. And I welcome those of you who are watching on our website today, because I know that some of you are as far away as Michigan and California. I welcome all of us today. And as I begin, please allow me to share some words of Scripture. And then to share with you what I think is the most important thing that I can do, is to pray with you. Please hear the word of the Lord. From the prophet Isaiah are these words. Have you not known? And have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. And He does not grow tired when life seems to crush us down. And He will not grow weary when we simply don't understand why such things like this happen. His understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary whose hearts are so broken and shattered. And He increases the power of the weak whose lives seem empty and lost. Even the youth, the strong men, shall grow tired and weary. And the young men shall stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord, they will renew their strength, so that on great days they will soar on wings like eagles. And on good days, they will run and not grow weary. And on those horrible, very bad, no good days, we will still walk and not faint. And then it was the Apostle Paul who said words from 1 Corinthians 13 that I will share in just a moment. The same words that I shared at Jordan and Jacob's wedding. But out of 1 Corinthians 13, it inspires a lot of other words, and I want to share just a little bit of some other words that come from the great love chapter. My favorite Broadway musical is The Phantom of the Opera, a love story between the Phantom and Christine. Several years later, Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote a sequel to The Phantom, and he called it Love Never Dies, and it is set 10 years after The Phantom of the Opera. And it is the first time that Christine and the Phantom are reunited. And at the end of that musical, Christine expresses her love that she's always had for the Phantom. And she sings one of the magnificent arias from a Broadway musical with the same name as the title of the musical, Love Never Dies. They were birthed from 1 Corinthians 13. Those words go like this. Who knows when love begins? Who knows what makes it start? One day it's simply there, alive inside your heart. It slips into your thoughts, it infiltrates your soul. It takes you by surprise and it seizes full control. Try to not deny it and try to protest. But love won't let you go once you've been possessed. Love never dies. Love never falters. Once it has spoken, love is yours. Love never fades. Love never alters. Hearts may get broken, but love endures. Hearts may get broken, but love endures. Those words that I shared on that beautiful fall afternoon, 3.5 years ago from 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres, for love never fails. Faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. For love never dies. And then the words of Jesus our Savior, when he said, I am the resurrection and the life. And he, though for today, though she who believes in me, though she may die, yet shall she live. I stand on the words of the resurrection today. Thanks be to God for the reading and the hearing of his word. Would you pray for me? Oh, Father, it is difficult to be here. But I am here because I can't stand on the promise of the resurrection. And that is my hope. Father, today I thank you for Jordan's life. I thank you for the joy that she brought to so many. Her acts of kindness, her laughter, her character, how she inspired so many of us. Father, I just pray that you will comfort us today. Not only in the joy of her memory, but in the promise of our faith. Give us strength now, Father. For I pray this prayer now in your name. Amen. We're now going to hear from her friends and her family.
Raise your hand if Jordan Estrada, Howard Estrada, ever told you she loved you. Now raise your hand if you had the real privilege of her telling you like it is. But I'd say most of you all. Now, raise your hand if you can close your eyes and picture that mouth wide open, gaping, contagious, infectious laugh. Because that's what I remember. And now when we miss her, because God knows we will, close your eyes and think of that laugh. I can think of so many things I want to share. I literally went through everything in my life with her, right by my life with her. And I don't know how things will be the same for any of us. And I don't think they ever will. And right now, I'm not okay with that, but I think eventually we'll find some peace. And we have so many memories to look back and smile. Jordan was a true angel. And I'll cherish that love and that friendship and that sisterhood for the rest of my life. Jordan honestly tried to make the world better. And I'm not just saying that. If anything, anybody had anything going on, she was there. A phone call away. What can I do to help? What can I do for you? How can I help you? I remember when my niece got sick, I called her and I said, you know, we're going to have this blood drive and I need water and snacks. I'm going to come by the bar tomorrow. And she said, no, you're not. I'll be there. What time and where? And she showed up with a box truck full of water and snacks and anything you could ever imagine. And she would call Lindsay to check on her and her mom to see if she could get her to a doctor's appointment when Lindsay couldn't be there, an hour away. She would take her mother to the doctor and bring her groceries and anything. She was there for everyone. And it wasn't just her friends. It was anyone. We were in Vegas one year. Don't worry, she did that. And we were walking down the strip, and Jordan and I were about to go do what Jordan and I do best, shop. And there was a homeless man sitting on the corner, and when we walked by, we were like, oh, hey, you know, and we just kind of kept going except for Jordan. Jordan stopped. And she looked down, and she started talking to him, and talking to him, and talking to him, and me and the rest of the girls were kind of like, well, what do we do? And I'm like, well, we're going to leave her here, because there's a cop, so I know she's safe, and Jordan's going to finish what Jordan needs to do. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I know Jordan's got things to say, and we're going to let her do her thing. So we go on, and we shop, and about 45 minutes later, Jordan comes back. You know, at the time, I just thought she was being nice. But now looking back, I'm like, no, Jordan was trying. She was trying to make him feel good about himself, and she was trying to let him know that he had hope. I was sitting together all of them, just like the Golden Girls. And she gets so mad because I tell her she was Dorothy. Every time, she was Dorothy. So I started thinking, I started praying, why? Why did you take her so early? Why would you take Chip's baby? Why would you take Jacob's love and our best friend and Aurora's mama? And the only thing I could gather, the only thing in the world was that we need more Jordan. We need more people that stop and help. And we need more people that love their daddy. Like the love I heard in her voice every time he called. And every time she spoke of Jacob, how her face lit up. And every time you saw her with Aurora, she was the best mother in this world. We need more people that love like her. So it makes us look back at her and think of how wonderful she was. And if you got to see the love she had, take it and share it. Don't take a second for granted. Now to Aurora. Sweet Aurora. These girls sitting back here, her group, her sisterhood, were here. We had this bond with your mama that was unbreakable. a bond, that unconditional love that we shared with her that will never be lost. And we're here to make sure that she knows every single thing, almost, about her mother. Everything. Because we're carrying her heart with us now, and we have to share it with Aurora. And I have a little poem, because Jordan always liked quotes and poems. And it's by E.E. Cummings, and it's called I Carry Your Heart With Me. I carry your heart with me. I carry it in my heart. I'm never without it. Anywhere I go, you go, my dear. Here's the deepest secret no one knows. Here today, and we're out doing whatever. Take Jordan with you. And next time somebody tells you that they love you, say I love you more. Thank you.
You know, I was told to try to make notes and write it out what I wanted to say, but every time I put the pen to the paper, I couldn't. How can I write my sister a letter? So it's just coming from the heart, so just bear with me and I'll probably babble on, but I feel like it's my sister. I have to do this, whatever comes out. You know, my sister never gave up on me. I went through troubles out throughout the years. And the one person that was the maddest at me, trust me, she told me what she thought, and I didn't want to hear it. But when I was finally ready to hear it, too, and just like Busy said, like that contagious smile and that face and the I love you more, that's all I can hear. Like, it still doesn't seem real to me. I am still in shock. Holidays will never be the same without her. But I think if anything, I mean, something good has to come from this. And family is what Jordan was all about. She was always the person that got everyone together. And I think that it's terrible that it takes things like this for us to realize what we have right in front of us. But to have better relationships with each other, because you don't ever know what tomorrow is going to be. Growing up, when me and my sister would go visit my grandmother in Virginia, we would walk around town and we'd go shopping. I guess it started early to go shopping. Like mother, like daughter. So. Well, we'd go shopping and we wanted people to think our names were chocolate and caramel. And I remember I'd be like, caramel, I was chocolate. I'd be like, hey, Carmel, come here. She's like, hold on, chocolate. I'm like, okay, Carmel. She's like, look at this. Whoa, Carmel, that's cool. It sure is chocolate. Like, no one says someone's name 72 times in 1 sentence. But we were convinced that they think our name's chocolate. But still to this day, we are chocolate and caramel. And even when we weren't even speaking and when things were on bad terms at one point years ago, you know, we'd still text, I love you, caramel, I love you, chocolate. We could fight, we could have the work, because she loved to argue, and I guess I get it, you know, we're just alike. We would argue, but but it was like times 10 of what I could even ever think. I mean, for customers to come through the line to want to come to her funeral just shows you like what an impact she had on your life, whether it was for 6 months or 20 years. And I think we should all strive to be more like her. She was the little sister, but she acted for most of my life like the big sister. She took care of me when it should have been the other way around, but about 2 or 3 years ago, she told me something had happened, I guess when my mom had her accident last year. She told me, you know, for once I feel like you're the big sister, you're taking care of things. And I didn't realize until she said that she was right. She was the one that took care of me always, and Mom ever could take care of her and be the big sister and be there for her. And I'm so glad that I got the opportunity to do that for her, and she deserves it. I can't imagine life without her. If you could die from a broken heart, I think, I don't know, I'm sorry to ramble, I'll finish it up, but she'll always be my Carmel, and this family's so important, and I love you, Daddy. And Jordan, I love you more.
Just so you know, my wife made sure that this is appropriate. Because that's what Jordan would have wanted. You know, we was talking about Mama Bear. She wasn't just Mama Bear for Laura, she was everybody's Mama Bear. And she always took care of all of us. Yeah, I typed it with my thumbs so I could read it, because I knew if I wrote it, I wouldn't be able to read it. And I still can't read it. Jordan was the kind of person that was always out there to make everybody smile. You know, we can all agree on that. She wasn't happy like you were. It was just the way she was. And I never saw her angry, except for when we were talking about politics. When we had a discussion, I was joking with Jesse earlier about Spanish class, and how mad Jordan was at me. And I didn't know much about politics then. But I knew never to talk about politics with her again after that moment. So, to this day, I still don't know where she stands on a lot of things. But I came to grammar school when I was in 8th grade, and you know, most of you guys know I grew up really poor. And when you grow up as a kid, you grow up poor, there's a sense of shame that comes with it. You know, like, and I remember going to the bargain barn with my parents for the first time, and I'd only known Jordan for a couple of weeks. And I remember seeing her eyes, you know, from around the corner. I was like, oh my God, there's the girl from school. Hope she doesn't see me with my parents, you know. and trying to hide it, and I didn't know that it was her family's business. And we went to check out, and my mom's using food stamps, of course, and I was like, oh my gosh, like she's right there, she knows that I'm poor. You know, and Jordan didn't care, you know, here, because it was everybody from everywhere, people that I haven't seen in years, and you forget, like, man, Jordan was friends with them too. Like, she was friends with everybody. You know, everybody loved her. And 10,000 things I wish I could say, but I can't say it. You know, just not because they're inappropriate, because I can't put it in words. So, but I was watching Aurora a little bit yesterday, and for just a minute she was playing with my son. And my son was walking across this little jungle gym thing in her bedroom, and I said in my head, like, God, I hope that they can be the friends that we were, you know, in some way. And Aurora kicked the thing, and my son fell to the ground. And I was like, now I know they can. Because that is Jordan. We just got to be there for each other. That's what she'd want, be there for Aurora. And it's her. Aurora is Jordan. But I love you guys so much. I love you more.
Jordan and I first became friends all the way back in 3rd grade, right up here on top of the hill at Newport Grammar School. We grew really close the summer heading into 6th grade. That summer, Jordan and I would talk on the phone for hours at a time. She even created a whole library of mixtape CDs and sent them to my house, mailed them to me. I'll never forget those CDs, and I still have them in my house. So a lot of time with Jordan. I went through a lot of different things, and one of the funny things I remember and associate her with is her vehicles. She had a number of them, right? Everybody remembers when she turned 16 and she got that light blue Volkswagen drop-top Bug. We rode in that thing several times together. She had the FJ Cruiser, right? Everybody remembers that. She also had the Jeep and then the Suburban. I'll never forget all of our rides together and the things that we talked about. I remember a lot of things and appreciate a lot of things about Jordan, but there are really 2 qualities that stick out to me the most. The first was just like everybody mentioned a little earlier, her ability to bring people together and build people up. Never seen anybody be able to do it quite like Jordan. If you knew Jordan, you know she was never one to put herself before others, and she often went out of her way to consider every possible angle except for the one that benefited her. Jordan was such a considerate and uplifting person. I can't count the number of times she was the first person to call and wish me happy birthday. She would randomly call or text just to check in on a close friend or family member of mine, or make a seemingly small accomplishment of mine feel like it was a tremendously huge deal. If it was important to you, it was important to her. She had a way with winning over everyone, even the skeptical types. I think she personally took it on as a challenge when she sensed someone may be in doubt or not necessarily warm to her. She always took that on as a challenge, and that's a challenge she won. She was a wonderful friend to so many people, and if she loved you, you never had to wonder because she was never afraid to tell you. The second thing I admire most about Jordan, actual person. It's funny to look back now and see just how she knew exactly what she was doing. I'll be the first to admit I didn't always appreciate Jordan's approach to time. Just ask Jacob. I can remember the first time that Jacob came to our annual cabin. For those of you that don't know, we used to get a cabin, Jordan's closest friends, every December. And when we returned from college, we would get to hang out together and spend some time and get into trouble. But at least it was in a cabin, so we were safe. But the first time Jordan built up this cabin to Jacob and tried to convey how much she valued that time with her friends and all the fun we would have. And so I have to imagine that Jacob was pretty excited to go to that first one. And when Jacob walked in, all of us guys were sitting around telling stories, telling lies probably, and having a couple drinks. And I think Jacob wanted to get in and mingle with the group. But all I can remember, the first thing we told Jacob is, hey man, you get a drink later. You need to go make sure Jordan's getting ready so we can get to where we need to go. I don't think he understood quite what he was getting himself into at the time, but now he knows. But seriously, you gotta respect how much purpose and intentionality went into how she chose to spend her time. And knowing what I know now, I can't blame her for taking extra time to soak up all those special moments. Because after all, isn't that what makes life worth living? I'll close with this. I think we could all learn a little something from the way that Jordan approached living her life. She spent so much of her time building up others and bringing people together. And she made sure she was never in too much of a rush to life. I'll hug your neck again one day. I love you more. Mean it.
We have heard the depth of love that Jordan brought. Before we go, let me share simply one verse of Scripture with you. It is found from the psalmist, and I think words that we all know pretty well. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not fear, for you are with me. Please allow me to parse that sentence if I could. It begins with the word yes. It is a statement of affirmation. This is what I believe, and I am going to stand on my belief. The next word is the word I. It means it's the personal pronoun. It means it is something that belongs to me. It is something that I do. It is something that is very personal. It says I walk. It means that I personally am going to go on a journey. I am walking this personal journey for me. The next word is the word through. It implies that you are going to go through something. You're not going to go around something. It is like entering a point and then leaving a particular point. It is like driving to Atlanta and choosing to drive through Atlanta and not get on 285 and drive around Atlanta. You're going to drive through it. And then it says the valley of the shadow of death, and it gives us two images of death. And the first is the word valley. And for those of us who are blessed to live in mountains, we know the beauty of a mountain valley full of blooming rhododendrons and mountain laurel. It is a place of beauty, an elusive place that we don't understand. Then it says, I will not fear. I will not fear. Even when there are questions, when there is some uncertainty about what the next hour, the next day, the next month, the next year will bring, even though there is so much unanswered questions and uncertainty, that I will not fear. Why? Because the Lord of the universe, the creator of all things, the one who loves us more than life itself, is with us. What does that mean? It means that last Saturday morning, every one of us gathered in this room began a journey that we did not want, but a journey that we are on. Our own personal journey, a journey of grief. And we can't ignore it. We can't avoid it. We can't get on 285 and think that we're going to drive around our grief. We are going to have to go through it. And we're going to have to go through it like we're trying to go to Turner Field to watch the Braves play, and the gates are about to open, and you're stuck in 20 lanes of traffic that's not moving. We're driving through it. And as we drive through it, we're reminded that death is this beautiful picture of something that is a beautiful place. A very beautiful place. Please hear me from the depths of my soul. That while we all go on this journey, we will resolve that we will not fear the uncertainty of what tomorrows will bring. What will happen and how things will go. We will not fear. And that we will take steps together, baby steps though they may be. That I have been to the bottom of the pit when life seems so senseless and makes no sense. And I want you to know at the bottom of the pit, I have found the very presence of God, who boldly strengthens me and has allowed me to move from senselessness to be able to look back and to give thanks and gratitude for those moments. And we will look back one day and give thanks and gratitude for the moments that we have shared with joy. Because even in the bottom of the pit, the Lord is with us. Now I know. Preacher, you are supposed to say that. And that sounds really good. And those are your words. Yeah. They are my words. It is the heart of who I am. But maybe it's not my words that you need to hear. Maybe it's Jordan's words. I went flipping through her Facebook page early one morning this week when I couldn't sleep. And I found something on her Facebook page. It is a picture of quotes. And I don't know what you call that. I'm not smart enough to know that. I just know that she posted it. And that she didn't post a lot of those things. And so I believe it is important to her. And it was done last February. And maybe it was done for us today. And if you would think of us as Jordan's kids, this is what she posted. My prayer is not that us, my kids, that he is not walking with them. I want us, her kids, I want my kids to be bold and courageous because they know who lives inside them. Her words. And I think her words for us. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. And she who believes in me, though she may die, yet shall she live. I stand on that promise today. As we close, I invite you to do three things with me. And I think we've already started on that process. But I want you to do three things, all of us who are here today. First thing I want you to do is I want you to play memories. Memories are a true gift of God. They are that which was and that which can be. And in doing so, Jordan will stay part of our lives. My memories are limited compared to so many of yours. My memories are sitting back here in my office, laughing and crying when Jacob and Jordan talked about getting married. My memory is watching Chip and Jordan walk down those steps that day. What an incredible moment on her wedding day. Chip was doing his best to hold it together, and Jordan was beaming as bright as he possibly could. My memory is being in the hospital with her and Jacob when Aurora was born. My memory is walking into the severe bombardment water a whole bunch of times. And her screaming, literally. And making it together because there is a little girl who needs to know the stories of her mama. And you tell her. Claim her memories, they are God's good gifts. Second thing is to claim your inheritance. My dear friend Craig Law is part of the master here in our county. And Craig will often tell me the story of people who can hardly wait to get to his office to probate wills because they know something tangible is coming to them. I am not talking about that kind of inheritance today. I think you've already heard about that kind of inheritance that Jordan leaves for us. The kind of inheritance that's built around being loved, love you more, being kind. I think of those moments. Like Matthew Woody told me that a couple of weeks ago he was standing out collecting on money on the road. And all of a sudden the car stops. And Jordan gets out, gives him a hug, and stops traffic all around. And gets back in her car and drives on. The way Jordan continues to live in us. And the way Jordan continues to be alive. Loved by Jordan. As she demonstrated kindness to you. As she took you in and made you feel special. As she used the words, I love you and I love you more. You go do the same now. And you do the same to others. Because as you have been blessed and as I have been blessed, she will live with us as we go and do that again. Claim that inheritance. What an inheritance we are blessed with. And finally, movies together. And we watched Red and watched years ago when they would come home, we would arrange times and we would go watch J.R. Tolkien's magnificent story trilogy, The Lord of the Rings. It's the story of the hobbits. And I want to take you to a particular point in that story at the very end. After the ring is destroyed, after the fellowship is restored, after good has defeated evil there on the mountain of doom, where Frodo and Sam were, and they have been saved. After Oregon has been crowned king of Gondor, and Arwen has become his queen. And after that incredible, massive moment, when they come and appear before the hobbits, and the hobbits try to kneel down before the new king and the new queen, and Aragorn says, no, the hobbits will never kneel, because of their sacrifice and love that they have given to save the country. And the king kneels, and all of Gondor kneels before the hobbits. And after the hobbits have returned to the Shire, after Sam marries Rosie, after Frodo finishes writing his book, Gandalf comes, and he tells Frodo and his uncle Bilbo that the elves are leaving Middle-earth and they are going to return to the Undying Lands. And they've invited Bilbo, who is now very old, to go with them. And all of the hobbits go with them. And they get to the seashore. And Bilbo hops on this beautiful boat where the elves are. Gandalf is getting ready to get on the boat. And they're ready to head off into the sunset. And Gandalf turns around. And they sail off into the sunset of a distant shore far beyond them that we cannot see. And the trilogy comes to an end. Why do I tell you that story? Because J.R. Tolkien was Christian in his worldview. J.R. Tolkien had a story to tell, and he combines it magnificently in that last scene for two things that I leave you with today. One is that when Frodo was getting on the boat, he turned to Sam with great tears in their final goodbye, these two heroes of the story. And he hands Sam the book that he had been writing and told of their adventures and their stories and their journey. And he handed them this book. And he said this, Sam, the last pages are not written. They are for you to write the final chapter. And Tolkien in his Christian worldview wanted us to know that Jordan's story is not yet over. For we have the final pages still to write of her story, about her inheritance and her influence that she leaves in our life. How that is upon us and how we choose to live. The final pages are for us to still write. The great truth that Tolkien wants us to know in that moment is that as that boat sails out into the sunset, and we can't see where that boat is going, there is an implied truth that there is somebody standing on the other side waiting for that boat to arrive. And last Saturday morning, when Jordan took that journey from here on earth to the undying lands that we call heaven, and even though we cannot see it by sight, now you be faithful over all things. Welcome home. And I want you to know that today. That Jordan's gone home. And it's all okay. Because she is okay. Thanks be to God for the life of Jordan Lee Allen Smith, who came into my life, into all of yours. And we will forever be blessed. Oh, Father, today I stand on the promise of my faith. I have no other place that I can stand. I stand on the promise that with Jordan everything is okay because she is in your presence. I can only imagine what that is like. I just know that when she left us last Saturday, you were waiting for her on the other side that we cannot yet see. And I know that one day we will join her. And she'll be waiting for us. And I'd like for us, my wife, for having a good old time today. But not yet for us, Father. Not yet. We're still here. And so, Father, I need your comfort today, and we need your comfort. We need your promise that you'll never leave us and never abandon us in this journey of grief, that you will always walk with us, as the psalmist in Psalms 23 says, will be infectious to us, and that we will want to share that as we have received it from her. Thanks be to God, Father. Thanks be to God. I pray all of this in the name of Jesus, the name that is above every name, whose name that every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord, to the glory of God. For I pray this in your precious and holy name.
Let everyone else stand.